everybody, welcome in this new video. In this video we're going to look at variables and especially local and global variables because you've been using a lot of variables but not in this way yet. Alright, so let me just open up a blank VI and I will show you. Alright, so it starts with we have constants and variables in programming, and you know that constants, we've been using constants a lot. For example, if we have a function, then we do a right mouse click, create constant. Alright, and this numeric value of 0 is a constant because it doesn't matter what the user does, it doesn't matter how far this program is in running, so if it's running, if it's not running, did it already complete halfway, this numeric value is always 0, it's a constant. But on the other hand, if we have these controls, for example, this numeric control that we wire up, that's a variable because the user is actually, this input is dependent on the user. So the value of this numeric variable is dependent on the user. Alright, so this is what we call a variable. And of course, if we're actually creating an indicator, then this indicator is a variable as well, because this indicator is dependent on whatever happens before the indicator. It's depending on an input. Right, so we have numeric 1 and numeric 2, they're both variables, and even though this is reading and this is writing, so we can only write into this variable in this case, and we can only read out from this variable in this case. There is a special way how we can approach these variables. So in this case we can just read out this variable and we can read it out as many times as we want. But we always have to wire it up to this input, which is fine, and especially if we're doing these small calculations like this, it's not going to be a problem. However, if we're going to make the VIs bigger and we have more programming on our block diagram, for example, if we have a calculation here with our numeric variable, but that same value that we input here in numeric 1 variable, we need it to calculate something down here as well, then it's not really convenient if we drag a line like this, because now you can see the line running here, but in the end you have no idea what's going on. Because if you have 100 lines like this going across your screen, that's going to be a big problem. Alright, so we can read out this variable a different way with this function called local variable. It's in the structures palette, and we can just place it here. And as you can see, it's now white. It has a symbol of a small house and a question mark. And if we just click on it, then you can see we can select two things, either numeric or numeric 2. So there are these variables we can select. Let's just select numeric in this case, and you can see that the input is on the left side of the function. That means that this is an input, and we can change the value of the numeric right now. So now we're writing the variable. If we're, for example, wiring up 6, then we're writing a numeric value of 6 into the variable of numeric. Alright, this is a possibility how we can use numerics. For example, by the way, let me just, I can get this value, I can write this way, I can display the value that's coming out of here into this indicator. Control T. So if I run it right now, I'm adding, I don't know, let me just add 20 here. If I run my program, oops, yes, I need to delete this. I'm getting back to that later. Alright, so if I run it right now, you can see that even though this numeric indicator is not connected, it's changed because of this writing variable function. What I just said about if there's a calculation going on somewhere else in the block diagram, but you have to use for example, the numeric to value. What I can do right now is I can, for example, say change to read. And this way, if I do change to read, I can select the variable again and I can read out the variable. And I can add, of course, and let me create a new indicator. Alright, so in this case, I'm reading out the variable of numeric 1, which is this one. Let's make it 6. And, oops, let's call this numeric 3. And so I'm reading out numeric 1, which is 6 in this case. I'm adding, let me add 4. And then number 3, numeric 3. Oops, Control T. Numeric 3 should then be, why did I call it number? Numeric 3 should then be displayed, so should be 10. Right, so if I run it right now, then here are the answers. Alright, so that's a really easy way to actually change variables, or I use it for zeroing as well. If I run a program and when I start my program, I most of the time start with zeroing everything. And I can do that by, it doesn't matter where my variables are in my block diagram. I always have this list in the beginning where I have all my variables lined up. Numeric, and copy it for numeric 2 and numeric 3, and I just create a constant of 0. Oops, not 6, 0. And now I need to select the wire. There it is. And this way, if I run my program in the correct order, then first I'm zeroing everything, and then I'm running the rest of my program. There's a function for that, I'll show that later. But that's how I use local variables. There's another kind of variable. The shared variable is used in bigger LabVIEW projects where we're actually sharing variables, for example, with measurement devices. So we're not going to use, don't worry about this one, we're not going to go into this as advanced LabVIEW programming. But the global variable is one that I never use, but it's a more convenient way of sharing variables between projects. So for example, if I'm building a huge project, a huge program with multiple VIs, because there's only this much space in the VI, and of course I can go as far or make the block diagram as big as I want, but most of the time you only want to keep it within one screen. Alright, then if I need to get two variables from another VI, then we have these global VI functions, and it looks more or less the same as this local variable function, but it's a little bit different because this one actually creates a new VI. So I double click on it and you can see a front panel appears. This special global variable front panel only has a front panel because I can put my numeric indicators or numeric controls or in here, so in my front panel. And these variables that I'm placing here in my front panel, I can read out and write as well. So read and write with this global variable function. So I need to save this somewhere on my PC. Actually, you need to save this in a project because now it only works in this VI. But as you can see, I made two variables, global A and global B, and I can approach them both from here. And I can do exactly the same thing, for example, writing this output value to global B, and I can read out the output value of global B again here. Oops. I can read out the value of global B somewhere else again with the same function. So, and that way we can actually use, even though I don't have this variable on my front panel, I don't have it anywhere else in my block diagram, but this way I can use variables to read and write. Most of the time we're going to use these numeric variable or local variables, and I will show you that in the next video.